Oh boy. Well, we are on our way again. It is Sunday 41. I never come on and make a live stream this early, but I figured I would. I'm bored. I stopped last night and got a hotel rather than sleeping in the truck on the way back. I got too tired to drive, which is funny because even though I was too tired to drive, I could not fall asleep for several hours in the hotel. So now I'm by Charlotte, North Carolina, roughly 5 hours from my house. And yeah, we're making our way. I forgot yesterday when I did my live stream to talk about the mass shootings. There were a ton of mass shootings yesterday morning. 14 people were shot in Austin. 7 people were shot in Chicago. 7 people were shot in Savannah. And it's kind of funny, or it's not funny, but it's weird, because this morning, like I said, I stayed in a hotel out here by Charlotte. And this morning I was watching the news, and they were just going over the gun crimes yesterday, the gun violence here in the Charlotte area. It wasn't just in Charlotte, it was in the surrounding area as well. And, they're like, oh, there was a shooting over here. There was a shooting over here. There's a shooting over here. There's a shooting over here. So much. The insane amount of gun violence and it throughout. And again, it's probably not legal gun owners. I know I'm going out on a limb saying that, but it's likely it's not legal gun owners that are the ones that are pulling the triggers. I think hasn't there been studies on that determine whether or not, it's just so dumb. So dumb, but yeah, they'll push for gun control and the gun control debates and all that stuff. But I wanted to just quickly give an update, because I know a lot of people, like I got 2 messages this morning already and saying, hey, did you make it back? When are you making it back? Blah, blah, blah. So I was like, you know what? I'll just make a live video. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Don't know, because I'm using a different audio setting because the audio on yesterday's video is really bad. So was the video, though. It didn't even tell me it was being choppy, but then when I watched the video from yesterday, it was being super choppy. Shouldn't be right now because I have 5G technology on this phone. Right now it says I have a 5G signal, so. But I'm eager to get back home. I am tired of driving. 7,000 miles already on my truck in 2 weeks? It's insane. And I'm about done with it. So yeah, I was ranting last night about this whole DOJ, Trump administration subpoenaing Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell in regards to their perceived leaking of classified data. I went on quite a rant yesterday about it, although it seemed like it was choppy. You may not even have heard it. But the funny thing is, the more I thought about it, even after I did my live stream, the more I thought about it, the more I was like, it's really frustrating because I heard Kayleigh McEnany, she's got a show now that she does out front or something like that she does every day on Fox News, and she did a whole media thing after the I forgot what square it was, but Lafayette Square. She did a whole thing about media and how the media doesn't fess up when they mess up, and that people have to hold the media accountable for when they do mess up. Hold on, let me check this chat and make sure this is actually working. All right, so you guys can hear me good. But it's kind of funny because she was doing this whole big tear about the media and how they're not trustworthy and how when they do get it wrong, they don't even apologize anymore. Like everyone was commenting about Lafayette Square and the fact that they all said Donald Trump pushed everyone out for a photo op, and now that news has come out to say otherwise, there's no there's no accountability. Nobody's holding their feet to the fire because it's almost like if they ignore it, it's kind of like Fox News with the whole ignoring this subpoena thing. I don't think that I don't think the DOJ subpoenaing, the phone records of 73 phone numbers and 36 email addresses. I do not think that's a bad thing. It doesn't even matter who it is. It doesn't matter if it's, Adam Schiff or Swell or McConnell or anybody. It doesn't matter. I think it's a good thing because it shows that our country is taking a stand against people that violate the law. And holding people accountable that are potentially leaking sensitive data. I said yesterday that Fox News or that CNN rather, Fox News is simply covering the event by not covering it. Apparently, they don't feel it's a big enough news story. They don't think it looks good on the conservatives to. I just don't understand the rationale behind that network not talking about these DOJ subpoenas, these secret subpoenas, because now the only narrative, and this is a problem that we have with right-leaning media, is we're so focused, ourselves included, we're so focused on reporting what's important to us and the messages that we want to get out. We're not correcting the narratives of the messages the left wants to put out, the inaccuracies that the left wants to put out. And that's a problem because, Fox News not covering the subpoenas at all it's doing a detriment, because the only narrative that you're going to keep hearing out there is the narrative from the left, which it just happens to be a very anti-Trump, obviously. Trump, they're talking about how this is Watergate 2.0 and even worse than Watergate. And in that, it's just really frustrating because you would think that all these big money guys that are behind these big news stations, that they would focus on what's relevant. And well, at least they would see that it's relevant to talk about it, and it see that it's important to do it, even if you just look at it from a narratives game. But they don't care. They're just pushing their own thing. They're talking about the G7 summit. They're talking about the meeting with Putin. That's the big news, and CNN is covering it as well yesterday. Did anyone see the CNN reporter's interview with Boris Johnson yesterday? Such a horrible interview. Such a sham for a reporter. She's like, Joe Biden previously called you a shadow of, or something like that. A shadow and a clone of Donald Trump. And he gives his political answer, but not really addressing the question. And then she's like, well, are you a clone of Donald Trump? It's such shitty reporting, man. Such shitty reporting. And then she's like, do you think it's a fair, accurate representation of you to say that you're a clone? Even though that's Joe Biden, the one that said that. Look at this motorcycle. You see this motor? It's sick. But the driver of this motorcycle is an old lady. Or the driver that has that motorcycle on it. At least yesterday it was. Still is. It's maybe a 70-year-old lady in that vehicle. She's got a sick motorcycle on the back, though. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. The way, and I suppose that we shouldn't be surprised. It is media. It is what we've grown to expect, right? Just to have Fox News telling one story, to have CNN telling a completely and unconnected story, and they're just that. They're stories. They're not news articles. They're stories, because it's more opinion than it is fact. With CNN, it's almost become lies. The New York Times is the one who broke the story, apparently, on this DOJ subpoena thing. And the New York Times has very little credibility at all, with me at least. And so it's frustrating. And there was a CNN commentator last night when she was talking about the DOJ subpoena thing. She's like, oh, yeah, right before I did the show, I was talking to someone, an anonymous source who will not come forward. And they were saying that everyone in the Department of Justice is completely freaking out. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's a real line. It's so stupid. It's like me saying, "Oh, I was talking to this deer the other day, and the deer told me that they voted for Biden." Like a deer. Clearly, it didn't happen because deers don't speak English or speak at all. Well, they must speak somehow. I don't know. Hey, you guys are getting a rare glimpse into the tired mind of Steve because I am just driving. I'm a fan when I travel. I like to get the Starbucks cafe mocha with 2 extra shots. And I stopped, I don't know, a couple of miles ago, right before I did the live, and bought well, I said a large cafe mocha, and they're like a grande, and I'm like, I don't know, sure. Well, it turns out a grande is not a large; it's a medium, which is stupid. And this coffee sucks, to be honest. It's the worst $7 I've ever spent for a damn coffee. It actually really pisses me off because I wanted the coffee to be good. But whatever, what can you do? It was a nice little community because you know how I don't know if you guys are familiar if they have them in your town where they essentially take a neighborhood and they build a town in that neighborhood. It's all usually owned by the same development company, but they put all the stores in it. They have apartments, they have shopping, they have grocery stores, they have all that. They do it a lot in Florida, and they do it a lot in Loudoun County, Virginia too. Lansdowne is a big one. But they do that. I guess they do it in North Carolina as well. And that's where this Starbucks was. It was like one giant, community. It was actually really nice, to be honest. Except for you could tell it was very left leaning. Guy, when he got the coffee, I'm like, I said a large, and he's like, no, you said a grande. I'm like, I'm gonna punch you in the mouth. It's too damn early. Don't mess with my coffee first thing in the morning. But whatever. What can you do? Figure I'll just give an update on the travel. I'm so excited to not have to drive. Well, now I got to get an oil change in the truck already, but out to and we don't have a Chevy dealer in my town, so I'll have to drive either half an hour north or half an hour south to the closest one. But I got to get the oil changed. But I'm so excited, to not really have to drive anywhere for at least a week. I don't have to go anywhere. I mean, I've been driving so much. I just want to get back to writing. I'm on a kick on writing as much as I can lately. So I want to just get back into the groove of things. I got to try to figure out the camera because, the green screen camera pixelating thing that I'm having going on with my camera in the office isn't, I hate it. It's one of the reasons why I switched off of the green screen in the first place because I hate it. And then it was fine in Florida, and then when we moved, something happened, and it got all screwed up again. So I'll have to work on that, and then I got to mow the lawn again if it ever stops raining. It's been raining a ton by my house. But yeah, man, the news is it's depressing. It's sad. It's biased. It's really, it's just garbage. There's no other way to describe it as other than garbage. But whatever. What can you do? We can just keep reporting it. How's the picture? Is the picture coming across as choppy to you guys? Let me know in the chat. Is the picture coming across as choppy? Here, you know what? Let me do this. I can't see this shit. See if this works there. I don't know if it's gonna pop. It should be popping up on the screen. There it is. Picture is fine. Well, that's good. See, now you can see, even with 300 people or however many are in the chat right now, 316, that chat. So imagine when we have 6, 7, 800 people, just how fast that chat goes. It goes so fast. It's hard to catch all the questions. Hopefully the audio sounds better than yesterday. I didn't realize that even though it had the settings was, because it connects to the Bluetooth, but apparently it was still going through the the headset and not connecting to the Bluetooth, because the microphone for the Bluetooth is literally right above my head. So hopefully that's working all right. But yeah, we're just driving. We just passed through Charlotte with you guys, and now we're on 77 north for an additional 58 miles. No, longer than that, and then we jump onto 81, I think, and then I follow that up to my area, my house. It's very funny, our news. That's one of the reasons why I really like driving. Granted, I'm over it now, but typically I like to drive because it allows me to kind of reset my brain. It allows me to think a little bit. It allows me to to be able to take things in a little bit more than I can when I'm sitting at my desk working, because I have all the distractions and different live feeds and different articles that I'm reading and different tasks that I have to do for the day. And when you drive, you pretty much, at least for me, it's what you guys see on your screen. It's the cars in front of you, the sun in front of you or behind, depending on what time of the day it is and which direction you're going. But it's just quiet, So I'm able usually to think of a lot more. It's where I come up with some of the best business ideas I've had in the past couple of years, and different strategies and things. And it also allows me to analyze like news stories a little bit more, and I suppose that's a frustration with the whole, like, the subpoena thing, is because I've been able, because of the road, I've been able to overthink it and pay attention to everything other than, because normally I just get sidetracked, or I would have got pissed actually and just turned it off and stopped focused on it, and maybe made a whole Wake Up America episode. And I'll probably still do that this week, because there's a lot of information and data. Like, I want to read the political reports. I want to read the actual New York Times article that has to do with this story, because I think it's relevant. I don't think that we're talking about it enough. We just don't know what is real. And everyone was saying yesterday with the subpoena thing, everyone is really, has anyone noticed everyone's really big on these commissions until the commission could potentially hurt them, and then they're like, no. Like Chuck Schumer and some other Democrat senator that was up last night on one of the news stations, well, obviously CNN, because they're the only ones who are talking about it. But he was saying they want a commission to investigate this because they feel like this is a huge overreach by the Trump administration. I think a commission would be great as long as the entire thing is open to the public. I don't want any classified bullshit where we're not going to be able to hear what the reasons for the subpoena issuance are. And I got a feeling there probably won't be a commission on it. It's the same reason I think they should have a commission on January 6th, because whether or not you want to believe whether or not you think it was good, or it's all irrelevant, there were major missteps that took place on January 6th, which go to both narratives. If there's a reason why, despite the Capitol Police requesting 7 times for backup and not getting it, despite the fact that Donald Trump authorized 10,000 National Guard members to protect the Capitol, and it was refused. The fact that the mayor refused, to request additional support, even though they had actual threat, levels that were put in place. All those things, even though everyone says, oh, a commission is a waste and it's a waste of time and it's going to be a fishing, escapade, it's still going to out those things. It's still going to put those things forward. It's still going to address those issues. And those issues are the question. They go to both parts. You know what I mean? They go to both sides of the aisle, even though that's stupid. There should be no sides, but it goes to both sides. If we understand, if Chief's son requested 7 times, backup because he thought this was going to be violent, and each time the House and Senate Sergeant at Arms, who both work directly under the guise of Nancy Pelosi, if he's refused, then that is something that we should all know. In my opinion, that is something that we should all be able to find out. We should all be able to understand what the rationale was for them refusing it. Was it simply because they didn't want the optics of National Guard being out there on Inauguration Day? Well, that's bullshit, because for each and every inauguration that's happened in the past 10 years, the number of National Guard deployed has been more and more and more and more. You know, last year, or the last inauguration, not this past one, the one before, there were 5,000 National Guard members deployed to D.C. for President Trump. Because remember, Antifa had a big riot outside of the Capitol when President Trump was inaugurated. I know, and not a single, all of them had their charges dropped, I believe. The ones that didn't plead guilty. I think all those Antifa guys have all had their charges dropped. It's very crazy. I would love for the commissions. I think we should do commissions on everything. I think we should do commissions on whether Biden is fit to hold the presidential office. I think we should do a commission on who's covering up for Hunter Biden. I think we should do a commission on who's leaking all the sensitive data to CNN. I think we should do a commission on CNN and why they're you know, shit. Everyone's going after Facebook and YouTube and Twitter for censorship and all this and pushing false narratives. What about CNN? They're already governed by the FEC and all that stuff, and no one's going after them for lying. They lie. They're spreading fake, false news all the time, every single day. We could listen to CNN right now, and we could listen to the false news. Watch. It's not going to let me do it because I'm on the phone. See, it's stupid. But that, I mean, and that's the truth. All of you guys know it as well. So why aren't we doing commissions on CNN and holding them accountable? How come we're not finding CNN for reporting fake news all the time under the guise of real news? And they say that when Donald Trump says something and it's erroneous, it skews the way people think and changes the opinion of them. You know, or so if Donald Trump's, you know, for example, when Donald Trump said, let's march to the Capitol peacefully, and they edited out the clip to say peacefully, when they say that's him inciting his rioters, but how, or his supporters, but when CNN will flat out lie about something, it doesn't do anything. There's no accountability. Nobody is there to say, hey, CNN, you lied. And even when, you know, huge Twitter accounts and everybody calls out CNN, they don't even reply. Like with the Lafayette Square shit, they don't even address it. And that's the thing. That's what got me so pissed off yesterday is with this DOJ, you know, secret subpoena. CNN is pushing the narrative, and they're doing it so hard. They're talking about it now. They're talking about it last night. They're talking about it all night on Thursday night. The entire shows were all devoted to it. They're pushing the narrative because they know if they're the first ones to put it out, usually the first thing you're going to hear is what you're going to believe, and especially with the people there. So now everybody on the left is going to be like, oh my God, Donald Trump, in addition to doing this and this and this, he was also spying on people. Really, you know, in all, ignoring the fact that the reason why they got the subpoenas is because someone was leaking national security, you know, information. It's so dumb. It really is when you really think about it. And it's just all a big game of politics, and it's above my head. You know, I'm thinking from the grander thing. I'm thinking much more. Someone said, I heard CNN is broke. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Someone said, catch that white car. What, the old Corvette? My truck's faster than theirs. I don't have it on sport mode, though. I can put my truck on sport mode and just, but I'm already driving too fast. That car can't catch me. But yeah, it's funny. You know, that car shouldn't be in the lead. It's a white car, you know. Now there's big arguments about Juneteenth. You know, I saw it on the local news here, Juneteenth, which is June 19th. I think it's what is it, Emancipation Day. I don't know the actual thing behind it, but I know that the first time I ever heard of Juneteenth was last year. Last year during the riots was the first time I ever heard of Juneteenth. And now, you know, it's coming up on it again, and you know, and I've never heard of it. Maybe it's because I've been so self-absorbed. Because today is this week. What is today? The 11th, 12th? I don't even know. What is today? So yesterday was the 12th. So today's the 13th. So my birthday's in 4 days. Oh my God, I'm getting old. I'm getting old. But I even saw in my local, like, or old local group, a Florida, like, neighborhood group, that they were arguing about Juneteenth back and forth, and you could tell how many people actually understand it, how many people are just being bigoted by their answers, and how many people are just being racist by their answers. Because it goes both ways. There's no such thing as reverse racism. It's just straight up racism in my mind. So if you're making racial undertones towards people because they disagree with the whatever Juneteenth is supposed to be, you're a racist. There's no other way to describe it. But they were even doing that on the little local groups, which is sad. Little Florida groups that are normally where they argue about, like, oh, did you see the ducks cross the road, or there was a drive-by shooting. My wife actually said it yesterday to me on the phone. She goes, it's so nice. I was sitting outside, and for the first time, she's like, I literally thought it's nice because I don't have to worry about a drive-by shooting. And I'm like, and that's the first time she's ever actually said that to me, because we had a couple of, shootings. We had a couple of drive-bys by not in our immediate neighborhood, but in the actual neighborhood. We've had a couple of drive-bys, home invasions, stuff like that in the past year down in Florida, which is one of the reasons why we needed to move so bad. But she actually said that yesterday, and I'm like, oh, so you're saying it's safe to be out in the country, Is that what you're saying? But yeah, it's crazy. And we're live. I wish I had the music. I forgot what it's called. The other music. Someone said, "Who cares? It was 100 years ago." But yeah, don't you realize that everybody cares about history, unless it's history that they don't care about, and that goes on both sides. That's not even a party line. See, for me, history is history, and it's something that needs to be reminisced on. It's something that we need to address. All this shit with slavery in this country, I believe every single child needs to know about it. That's what makes this country what it is, and the fact that we persevered through it and became better people. My family wasn't involved in it. We came from a boat, but it's. I think my children deserve to know the history of this country, the good and the bad. But it's really weird because the left wants to erase the history that they don't like and add new history to it as a furtherance. Isn't that weird? Like, if you actually think about it, with the whole the Tulsa Massacre stuff, and the fact that, I mean, what's, again, another sad thing, never even heard of that myself until last year. But isn't it weird that with the Tulsa Massacre, everyone wants to talk about it and give remembrance on it and do all this, but they literally spent all of last summer and protesters, I mean, not any particular race, because they weren't, if I was gonna lump them by the actual percentage of race that were in these protests, I'd have to say white people, because the majority of them were white. But they were, the allies, or whatever the hell they're called. But they literally spent half the summer last year canceling events because they were racist, or tearing down monuments, or attacking museums, or because they don't like that history. Isn't that just weird when you actually think about that? Yeah, I think the Tulsa Massacre should be reported on. I think it's something that everybody should know. I think the history of slavery, and the United States history of slavery, should be reported on. In the civil rights, in the 1950s and 60s, they should be reported on, because they are history. They are, whether we like it or not, a part of our history here as a country. But it's only one-sided. I think most people feel that way. History should be reported, regardless of whether it's good or bad. The thing about being ripped down, and that's why so many people are offended by the statue being ripped down, because you're taking away heritage. Whether it's good or bad, it's still heritage. It's still the history and the legacy of the country. Whether good or bad, it doesn't matter. It's still there. It's still relevant. But whatever. What can you do? I can only just talk about it and try to make sense of it. But unfortunately, a lot of this stuff doesn't make sense. Fake news makes for fake history. Someone else said, yeah, and maybe that's a different approach. Maybe you're right, because maybe the attempt now is not to report. Maybe the plan now is just to create all these these false narratives, and then have them ingrained in history. Because everyone says that. CNN says that a lot. Like, Trump going down in history as this, or this will go down in history as Watergate 2.0, or blah 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 blah. And they're all trying to like switch the narratives and create history and make themselves relevant. And they all do it. And again, there's no accountability. There's no one to hold their feet to the fire when they're caught lying. There isn't. Or caught with their pants down. Now, shit, did you know that if you work for CNN, you can jack off during a Zoom call with employees and get your job back? That's real. Jeffrey Toobin. He is now brought back to CNN. I mean, those are crimes. It's amazing. It's amazing. And they'll go after Donald Trump for months and months and years to talk about what a god-awful person he is for having locker room talk. So you couldn't see the quotation marks, but that's what I did. Locker room talk in a movie theater trailer. Jeffrey Toobin, a CNN commentator, gets up on the Zoom call and is yanking one out where women are present. He doesn't face any charges, and then they hire him back. But think about how awful they talked about Donald Trump forever because of what he said. Grab him by the whatever. It's such a double standard. If there was a Republican governor that had 13 women accusing him of sexual assault, do you know what would happen to that governor? He would be out of office. He wouldn't be getting book deals. His brother probably would have been canceled as well. But no, if you're on the left, you're still governor. Your brother talks about it all the time because he's a famous CNN host. It just doesn't make sense. You would think. Here's my question: why wasn't Jeffrey Toobin arrested? Because he was in his, and maybe it showed like him doing it, but not his shit. Maybe that's why he wasn't arrested. Because that's got to be a crime. Because you can't do it, and like you couldn't just whip your shit out in a meeting and CNN headquarters do it. So I wonder why he wasn't arrested for doing it on a Zoom call. Doesn't that constitute the same type of crime, especially when everyone's in the middle of social distancing? I don't know, man. It's crazy, man, right? This is our country now. This is our country. This is what we have. This right now, the legacy of the past year that we get to pass down to our kids. So dumb, so sad, really, when you really think about it, because they deserve more, and now we're not hearing about it much in the news, and that could be by design, but the $6 trillion spending bill that Biden's put up. God, like what does anybody think that's actually going to do for our kids? And like the debt that our kids are going to have if they're trying to raise taxes right now. How's that going to? And they keep saying it's not going to affect the middle class, which is a complete and utter lie. Because even if you're a couple and say you make $250,000 and your spouse makes $200,000, you're over that $400,000 cost based on something I read, and I haven't verified if that's true, but you're under that, or you're over that rather, so you're going to get taxed as that if you file as a head of household or a joint tax return. Oh man, it's just sad. Tomorrow we'll be back in the groove. You guys are going to notice tomorrow I'm getting out all the mystery boxes and all that finally, so I apologize for the delays with that. I just got to find the label printer. I know it's in one of the boxes somewhere. just don't know which box. So I got to find that so I could start doing these labels. But tomorrow also the website, the PT News website, it's gonna look a little bit different. At some point during the day, we're gonna start the rebranding process over to Citizen Stringer at some point tomorrow. Also, Adam and I are working on the app itself and getting that stuff all set. So we got some big stuff that we got going on this week and in the next couple of weeks, couple of months. For anyone who doesn't know, we are launching Citizen Stringer. Citizen Stringer is going to be the new home of the PT News Network news. So you'll be able to access it on your mobile phone. If there's breaking news and things, we'll be able to send push notifications out. In addition to that, that'll be the new home for PTNN. So all of the live streaming content that you see, that you're watching now on social media, we also have our own streaming app. But we are going to be rebranding that over in the next couple of months and putting all that content on. So anyone who has and I'll explain the membership stuff later. It's not going to change. It will. Anyone who's on a lifetime member will have the other thing, or will have the new app, Citizen Stringer, the member content for free forever. And then all the t-shirt plans, coffee cup plans, all that stuff, those are all going to end. But I'll explain all that once we get closer to the actual release. And then the best part about the whole app is the you are the news. You break the news section. The stringer section, which is where we will have the capabilities for you guys to actually make news videos, make breaking news videos, either rant about stuff. Also, it adds a whole new level of interaction with all of our shows, because now, instead of just having to type in a chat on Facebook or YouTube, you can do a reaction video. We can pose a question, and you could give your insight or your answer to that question. Plus, it's got so many other features. There's the capabilities for people to go live in the app to broadcast from like protests and things like that. It literally does so much. It literally does so much. So we're very excited about it. Oh, it's got, I think I said giveaways live in it. Oh, and you guys can earn money too. We're going to be doing, cash giveaways a lot, merch giveaways a lot. Plus, you make money on the videos that you upload. It's going to be chats and all that. If you guys want to back that app, because it is expensive, the link is in the description of this video on Facebook and YouTube. And I think it's in the description section on PTNN as well. But I think I'm going to wrap it up, because I just realized I haven't drank my coffee since I started this, even though it tastes like crap. I'm still going to try to drink it. And my signal is waning a little bit, so this is probably getting choppy. But again, it's not showing me. I don't know why. When I do it from my phone, it doesn't show me if I get super chats, or maybe I'm just not getting super chats, and that's why it's not showing up. But I can't tell. But if anyone did do super chats on YouTube, I really appreciate it. If you did stars on Facebook, I really appreciate it. I don't know if there's been any Venmos or PayPals or anything like that. But if there has, I really appreciate that as well. If you guys want to contribute to everything that we're doing, you can visit the Indiegogo link in the chat, or you can just simply visit ptnewsnetwork.com/support. And there's all the ways you could support us there. And we really appreciate it. This stuff, it takes a long time, to institute anything really, but I appreciate you guys all for being here and helping us with the quest to keep just reporting the truth and reporting news, because that's what it should be. People should just report news. And here's the thing, you can have opinion, but you just got to clarify that it's opinion and not news. Someone said, I love driving without driving. I don't know what that means. Oh, because you guys are just sitting watching the road. Yeah, well, see, that it's stupid, because it's a violation of terms and conditions for the camera to be, well, I don't know. I heard that. I don't even know whether it's true, but I've heard it's a violation of terms and conditions for the camera to be facing front. But there you go. There I am, and I don't really care because I'm going to end this video. But I appreciate you guys watching. As you can see, boxes and all that stuff. But I appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate all of you watching, and all that good stuff. We will see you later. Bye. If I can end this.